Genius. Devious. Terrible. Immoral. But genius. People in charge aren't stupid. You want to vote for Joe Biden, you go ahead. Do your thing. I'm just telling you. You think you're going to escape it? Oh, they're going to leave me alone. My kid goes to a private school. I'm insulated from the effects of these terrible Democratic policies. Good luck. Again, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm only going to tell you who I'm voting for. It's not a secret. I'm voting for President Trump. I've never been more convinced he's the right guy. But if you are voting for Joe Biden, I just want you to understand again what you're voting for. So check out this story at the New York Post. It's in the show notes. Please read it. It's by Betsy McCoy, the former lieutenant governor of New York under George Pataki.
Oh, yeah.
Remember her? Yeah, she was a little heavy on Obamacare. I think she's a medical doctor. Story's up in the show notes. To access the show notes, go to bongino.com/newsletter. Just click subscribe. We send you the email every day with all the notes in it. Joe Biden's disastrous plans for America's suburbs. Joe's heard this story so many times, he doesn't even need to see the Post article. This is about a program called the AFFH. If you don't know it, look it up. Because if you have a house in the suburbs and you think you're voting for Joe Biden, because don't worry, I'll be left alone. By the way, this is what a lot of Democrats do. They vote for things thinking they're not going to affect them. I don't care about school choice. I send my kid to a private school, rich liberals. I don't care about higher taxes. I've got the highest paid accountant in the neighborhood. I get out of all my taxes. I don't care about, patient-controlled healthcare. I'm going to pay my doctor for concierge service. That's what liberals do. They're frauds. They're total frauds. Their lives are a fraud. Everything they stand for is fake. Fake. Because they think what they vote for is not going to affect them. Well, a lot of these rich liberals live in the burbs. How are you going to feel when a high-density housing, low-income apartment complexes are placed right next door to your house? The liberals, Joe, all the liberals. It's all about fairness and equity. Okay, we're going to build next to your house, an 80-family, 300-square-foot unit, low-income housing. The house you worked your whole life to. Yeah, we're going to build that next door. You watch. The libs will lose their minds because they're fakes. They're phonies. They're total, complete, utter frauds. This is what's coming if you vote for Joe Biden. There he is, all about AFFH. Affirmatively furthering fair housing. Notice the language play there. From the New York Post piece. Biden wants to ramp up an Obama-era social engineering scheme called Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing that mercifully barely got underway before Trump took office, vowing to stop it. Biden's plan, listen up, you suburbanite liberals. This is what you're voting for. Biden's plan is to force suburban towns with single-family homes and minimum lot sizes to build high-density, affordable housing smack in the middle of their leafy neighborhoods. Local preferences and local control be damned. Again, I know you're frauds with school choice because your kids go to private schools. I know you're frauds on taxes because you have fancy accountants right there ready to lower your tax bill. I know you're frauds on healthcare because you have your own concierge service or your own private doctors. You're not going to be able to be a fraud on this one. Joe Biden is fully in love with this AFFH that is going to wipe out your local zoning and make sure they build nice, low-income, high-density housing in your neighborhood. Now, keep in mind, if you object to this, Joe, what do you think the standard liberal line is? The Tom Maher approach, right? Remember Tom?
Yeah,
God rest his soul.
coming.
Of course it's coming. If you object to this, you are definitely a racist. 60 or 70 A's. 100%. Because that's all they have.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, that's weird. I'm a racist because in the neighborhood we just moved from, the block we lived on, Paul, if I'm getting this inaccurately, please, because I don't like hyperbole for effect, because people can fact check you, I have no problem. Without giving up where I live. The block I just moved from, my neighbor was Cuban. The guy down the block in the cul-de-sac was black. The neighbor on the other side of me was white, and across the street was white. Black, Hispanic. My wife, by the way. Oh, gosh, my wife. I totally forgot. So our household, I'm not even kidding. I totally forgot that. So our household has an immigrant, Colombian, successful woman and my wife. The neighbor's Cuban. It was a middle-income neighborhood. The guy in the end of the corner happened to be black. How do you know that? Because I see him. He's my neighbor. And then the guy was white, and then the other guy was white. So we're all racist, right? I live as diverse, to use a block as you could possibly live on. There were only about 10 houses on the block. And yet we were all racist. Why? You mean, so if you were just checking, like, his liberal racist code is always hard to decipher, Joe. Wouldn't you, if you were a hardcore racist, just checking, wouldn't the first thing on your mind when you were picking where you were going to live, like the place you spend 8 to 10 hours a day if you go to work, wouldn't the first thing on your mind be like, I got to make sure everybody looks like me around here, right?
Yeah.
Just checking, right? So none of that's really happening. By the way, it's fully 100%, thank God, illegal to discriminate on showing someone a house or selling someone a house because of their race, which is obviously a good thing. It's already illegal. But if you object to having low-income high-rises stuck next to your house, you're definitely a racist. Well, again, you can take that and ram it up your caboose because you're just making that up, and I'm not going to play ball with you. What are they really doing here, the Democrats? Well, as I explained to you, I was using a great piece by Stanley Kurz, who writes at National Review, who's been all over this. Your suburbs are about to be destroyed if you vote in Joe Biden. You think they're not coming for you? You're insane. Biden and his crew are knocking on your door. Here's what their real goal is. It's got nothing to do with race, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the racism card is all they have, to scare you to shut up, which you're not scaring me or anyone else speaking out against this, including Betsy McCoy. This is two things. Number one, the Democrats have figured out they're wasting a lot of votes in big cities. What do I mean by that? People who live in New York, they're winning elections for Congress in New York City, Manhattan, and elsewhere. The Democrats, that is, by margins that are ridiculous, Joe. 90-10. I'm not kidding. 85-15. Mm-hmm. And you may say, well, what's the problem with that? Why would Democrats not want to win by big margins? Because, ladies and gentlemen, there's a limited number of people in the United States, 330 million people. And when you pack them all in one congressional district and you win those races overwhelmingly, you lose elsewhere because all your people are in one spot. Please tell me you're following me here. The Democrats need to start winning races by smaller, not bigger margins, so they can take some of those people and move them into suburbs they're losing by 1 or 2 points, maybe 1,000 votes, and take 10,000 people they don't need in the city. They're winning that election by 30 points. They don't need those 20,000, 30,000 people in that congressional district. They need them to vote elsewhere, and they can start to take back seats in the suburbs. They need to start diluting their vote. Concentrated vote margins are not good. They're bad. They're called wasted votes. Joe, you ever hear that joke about medical school? What do they call the guy who graduates last in medical school? Doctor?
No.
Yeah, that's what they call him. You ever hear that joke? Right. It's true. What's the guy who graduates last? 300. They call him doctor. What do you call the candidate who wins by 50.1% of the vote in contrast to the guy who wins 99%? What do you call him, Joe? You call him congressman. You call him the winner. It doesn't matter. That's reason number one. They want to wreck your suburbs. It's all about politics. But there's another reason too. The cities are hemorrhaging people. So by moving voters, what they think will be Democrat vote, remember, there's no guarantee they'll move in the suburbs and vote Democrat, but they think by moving Democrat voters into the suburbs, they can get Democrat voters in said suburbs to start voting suburban conservatives out and start to vote for things like redistributing the tax income from the suburbs back to the cities. It's genius. Devious, terrible, immoral, but genius. People in charge aren't stupid. You want to vote for Joe Biden, you go ahead. Do your thing. I'm just telling you. You think you're going to escape it? Oh, they're going to leave me alone. My kid goes to a private school. I'm insulated from the effects of these terrible Democratic policies. Good luck.
You just heard Dan Bongino.